A while back, I read an essay by Justin Carson. I have it in front of me, where as an academic, he talked about the experience of his dad having schizophrenia and how one night he visited him from college and his dad said something along the lines of, like, I know the psychosis I'm having isn't real. It's just I don't have any other family or anyone else near me, and so it allows me not to feel lonely. Like these people are all that I have. And then the rest of the essay talked about how things would be different if we reconceptualize mental disorders as not being pathological, but serving a type of social utility. And I was wondering if that was something that you saw in your work, the social utility of psychosis.
Would you share that citation with us? Either drop it into the chat or send us an email. John, do you want to address that?
Why don't I let you take the first stab at it?
I think that that's a large. So I think one of the things that we've really seen happen over the last five, if not 10 years, right, is this intensification of solidarity within diagnostic categories, right? So like identitarian frameworks for people to build alliances within certain kinds of communities. So being diagnosed with autism, or not even being diagnosed with it, but identifying as autistic provides people, especially through like social media, opportunities to build solidarities between them, right? And you can think about it as an anti-loneliness technology in some sense, that like being able to identify as existing within a diagnostic category provides people with the basis of shared identity, right? And that's not to like say that they're not real categorically, but to say that sometimes, the capacity for those diagnostic categories to allow people to see themselves reflected in them are is generative of social relations in exactly the way that you're talking about, right? So I think that, one of the things that continues to trouble me is like the policing around the authenticity of anybody's self-identification, right? That like, and it, in some ways, I kind of feel like, we just need more ways to build solidarities, right? That like it shouldn't be that a diagnostic category is like a passport to identity in that way, right? That like there should be other mechanisms to support people, but that might be the limit of how far I can think right now. John, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I guess, I think some of these questions and the way when I was working in community mental health and I was working on questions of it was depression. And one of the things that really struck me was how depression was so various that it just sort of really confused me. I mean, I interviewed a lot of people. I spent a lot of time in especially support groups and with advocacy groups. And of course, once I moved across certain social lines, depression would disappear altogether. And of course, people's diagnoses were constantly shifting. But there was an affective experience that, and I think I was sort of drawn to work on affect in that case because diagnostic categories seemed a little bit less, it's not that there's nothing there, but they were awfully shifting and they were often awfully fluid. But depression very much felt like something that people were latching onto in an attempt to understand something that was kind of at the edges of social life. Like there was a recognition that depression was this emergent thing and people were trying to figure out what it was and how they could address it. And really, I sort of saw that as a political movement in some sense without a name and, as an effective political movement. And so I think that, yeah, to sort of, get back to what Matt is saying or, Matt's response, I think, we're sort of interested in trying to figure out how, to mobilize these sort of widespread experiences without over individualizing them and without, simply relying on medical categories, which, tend to, that's about treatment. But, there might be sort of broader social movements and forms of relatedness that can emerge out of, these really widespread experiences.